Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm, coming at you on the weekend because an emergency popped up. But that's okay. We're here doing the show. We're getting it to you. That does, however, mean that Bahamut will be joining us on a future episode. Kyle, I do believe we have locked him in for the 27th, the episode on the 27th. Yes.
So you must wait 2 weeks for the insights of Bahamut, but otherwise, you happy weekend, Garrett.
Happy weekend, Kyle. It's good to see you, dude.
It's a weekend edition. You know, we might sound a little more, I don't know.
Relaxed?
What relaxed? Yeah, is that what people sound like on the weekend?
I'm full of a big brunch and the least fancy cocktail I've had in probably years, which is a screwdriver. So I'm super relaxed, man. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about patch notes. Let's do it.
Nice. Check out the size of my weekend coffee cup. You know, that's what I'm sporting.
That thing is the size of your head, man.
Yes, it's a good pile of coffee. Sunday coffee.
I have a lot of coffee in my system too, man. It's good. It's going to be a good one. So we got a lot to talk about there. We got a huge patch that came out just this past week on February 12th. If you're listening to this in the future, wonder when the hell that patch exactly came out. That will be the bulk of today's episode. But Kyle, we had homework to do.
Yes, from Lashes.
Lashes gave us homework. Like that, I don't know. It's hard to say like that substitute teacher that you liked because you wouldn't probably like a substitute teacher that actually gave you homework. But if the homework was to go do something really fun, you would probably like him.
Yeah, not like, like teacher, this will be fun in class. Like, do a crossword puzzle. Like, no, this was playing a video game. And in particular, we had Project Mage, in which I played Gul'dan over the week, and you played some Orphea.
Yeah, actually, I forgot I was supposed to be Orphea. So first I started off by playing some Mephisto. I don't like that hero at all, man. I cannot stand that kit. It's terrible. I don't know how anyone makes anything happen with that guy.
I mean, it's dreams. He runs on dreams, Garrett.
I'm about to say, yeah. So yeah, for me, as someone who's not into the fantasy of being, I think, a not particularly cool looking monster design, on top of a kit that I don't love, it's a hard sell for me.
I mean, I think he's pretty neat with his spine hanging out. Who wouldn't love it to be a little more gnarly? But, T for teen and all that sort of thing. I mean, I really, outside of like just ripping on Genji more, I struggle to think of anybody who's as, and I've always used the word on the show, buzzy as Mephisto. He should have a Bumblebee skin. That would be fabulous. There's something about him that just never completes the business. There's no poison damage like Gul'dan can do. Or Lunara, where maybe you don't have a ton of upfront damage, but at least they kind of die on the back end.
It's Yrel. I mean, that's what you seal the deal with.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it's getting them to the point as Mephisto where Yrel can actually seal the deal. There's not a lot of guarantee there.
I mean, the really nice thing about Mephisto's design is that his ring matches his auto attack range. So as long as you are auto attacking max range, you're hitting your lightning, which if you're doing a lightning build, which most people are, is where all the damage is. But you got to be hitting heroes. So like you take a mage with no lane clear again, kind of that Li Ming issue. I really enjoy the theming, the Lord of Hatred. I have not landed on him. My project was Gul'dan, who I thoroughly enjoyed. I worked mainly on Q build, so that'd be Fell Flame. I really like the pressure of it. I'm still not sold on the corruption biz. I really like one sweet corruption now and then, but a full corruption build just feels like Jaina doing Blizzard. It's just, here's my giant spell. Let's hope it does everything we need to. Fell Flame, though, had great lane clear, even great siege damage, and the pressure of constantly putting that thing out was incredible.
Yeah, and then you and I had a chat, and you were like, hey, man, you were supposed to be playing Orphea, and I was like, oh, forgot. All I remembered was the Mephisto talk, and
well, the caterpillars. We got distracted.
Yeah, man. And as I mentioned last week, I haven't really played much Orphea since she was originally added to the game, because again, not a fantasy I'm particularly into. I can't say that being a goth Lolita girl has ever been something I was particularly interested in becoming, but. Boy, I've complete opposite reaction to forcing myself to play Mephisto. I am loving Orphea. What have I been doing with my life, my dude?
Yeah, man. First of all, we did do a pretty good service for Orphea. We made sure we had an actual comp. And Orphea does have some self-healing with her auto attack overflowing chaos. But being in there in the quick match environment, trying to hit skill shots on lots of tiny characters that often populate quick match just isn't Orphea's bag. And if there's not a tank to reset on, to make yourself mobile on, playing Orphea and practicing Orphea, I had the same problem with Gul'dan because of his heavy positioning. He's kind of like Raynor in that way. It's just tough to learn some of these heroes in that environment.
Yeah. Although I've been seeing an odd amount of Azmodan and Zarya, and they're decent sized targets in quick match.
It's true that they're dancing around the back, they're doing lane stuff. Like what Orphea and Gul'dan need to actually like function and learn how to play is nice, organized team fights with the bruiser and the tank and the support in the back, and the one assassin that you chase down after you get rid of the tank kind of thing.
It's like the Revolutionary War like kind of thing. It's like we stand in a line like gentlemen and exchange shots. Like there's an agreement before you go into the game. That's certainly where it feels like Orphea shines the most. But I
can't
really
believe
don't.
We've never made that.
What the Revolutionary War analogy?
Yeah. And then you got Patriot, he's running through the woods. So that's quick match, right? Where he's got hatchets hidden behind trees and he's like running around, taking this guy out and then getting a reset and running over here. And the whole British Army's like, what? Dude, like, where's the formation?
We had an agreement. We shook hands.
Yeah.
The difference is though, Kyle, in quick match, everyone is behind a tree with a hatchet. Everyone. Constantly. Even if you're Zagara, you're finding a way to make the behind the tree hatchet strategy work.
Who's that fabulous man with the voice who plays the evil bad guy in Patriot?
Oh God. I just IMDb him because I can never remember his name. He's also Draco's dad.
And voice in Star Wars and
Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs is your Azmodan Zagara. He's off burning down a building and it just infuriates you, so you go gorilla.
Actually, yeah, dude, we've brought it full circle. We figured this analogy out, and now all I want to do is go watch The Patriot.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Gets up out of that ditch just covered in viscera. You're just like, man. This movie's just getting started. Getting started.
You gotta love a good unleash. That's why John Wick exists, because someone said, can we make this the whole movie? And someone's like, well, probably, yeah. Like, who could do that for a whole movie? Oh, Keanu Reeves. All right.
Yep. Yeah, it's solid. It's solid. But yeah, man, I've got the Orphea bug for sure. I'm gonna be playing a lot more Orphea. And
I mean, it felt great alongside my ETC. We got some Mosh Feast combos going on.
Yeah.
I learned to control myself and let you hit your Q first rather than pushing them out of the way. So that was nice.
Dude, the feast on a 50-second cooldown, which I had completely forgotten was the fact of the matter. That's just stupid. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Every time we needed the feast, it was there. It was ready. Force a boss, you got feast. Defend a keep, you've got feast. Your buddy Kyle's mosh pit is ready. Oh, guess what? I've got a feast. It's all good.
I only casted 2 feasts between that time and now. Might as well do it again.
Yeah. It was that last game. Oh, I could have just kept playing. I wish today's episode, which would have been terrible for an audio podcast, could have just been us just chain running Orphea ETZ games. It would have been wondrous.
We'll get a chance.
Well, yeah, eventually. But yeah, man, it's been good. Oh, the other thing I tried to call back to last week's episode was that was McIntyre's Kael'thas build, which. Was it last episode, or was this just a conversation you and I kind of had off the cuff about? I feel like it was a really quick mention about Illidan's really fun, but it's the roulette of like quick match. You pick Illidan, and sometimes you just have that game where you're like, I am a god, and there's no stopping me. And then 90% of the time, it's the complete opposite, and you just can't do anything.
That's quick match.
Yeah, I took that Kael'thas build into a quick match game, and the Illidan on the other side was having his 10% of the time, where he just got to be an unstoppable killing machine. And I saved myself with the stun, but the damage was already done. There was just no. It was horrible. It was horrendous, man. I'm not down on that build at all, but that's much like Orphea. I think we need like the gentleman's comp. It needs to make sense. These are things that are hard to practice in quick match.
Yeah. Well, either way, like this next coming week, I think you and I are definitely going to sit down and do some tank magery. But I got a confession at the end of this Project Mage, spiel here, Garrett. I realize that I've been tanking since 2018. And seeing the next season about a month and 3 weeks away, I'm kind of feeling exploratory. It's not really win rate based. I am, down because of all the wackiness of all the rank at the moment, but it also means I'm with lower skilled players and I have a chance rather than just spamming Johanna Thrall all the way back up. I've been getting that Mal'Ganis down. I've been working heavily on my ETC, but you know what? I kind of feel like just going somewhere else. I might stop tanking for a season and try something else.
Well, if you can, all right. I need to go to Johanna school with you. You teach me how to play Johanna because I need that in my back pocket because I'm really missing Arthas ETC. I'm getting the itch to play those again, but if I'm gonna play those again, it's gonna be expected of me to go Johanna in a draft.
Right.
And my Johanna is shit. It is so unpracticed. When you remember when she first came out, man, you were Leoric, I was Johanna. We couldn't be ripped off of either of them. But I've just stayed off of her for so long because she just became the definition of vanilla in Heroes of the Storm. And I was off in bare Rexxar land. But if I'm gonna start showing ETC, if I'm gonna start showing Arthas, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're tank man. Where's Johanna at?"
Yeah.
So I need to shore that up. It needs to happen.
It's true. You know what? There's one of those happening with me right now. If I'm going to stay on Bruiser, it's called Thrall to Chen. Actually, Chen is a huge counter pick to Rexxar. Even just holding your own against like things like Yrel. Just the amount of insert Chen here that is extremely viable in our current solo lane is incredible, and that is a really complicated hero. I could spend my next month and 3 weeks getting Chen down. So over these next couple episodes, I'll definitely be sharing my journey through completing my roster for season 2.
I don't want to work on Chen with you. That game still haunts me, man. That game against the GMs, that GM freaking, in my dreams, I see that fountain dying, just crumbling every night. I close my eyes and I watch that fountain crumble. And with it, I mean, my hopes and dreams.
I'm starting to think that maybe the reason why so many people do a double soak is because you never actually interact with your enemy solo lane and you don't get haunted when you lose. You're just like, I got 2 lanes of soak. What was the rest of my team doing? Clearly not enough. It's not my fault. And you go to bed knowing you soaked all the XP, happy without a nightmare among you.
Yep. Well, rad, man. We'll have to stay in touch with one another. Maybe we should start a podcast and let each other know how season 2 goes.
We'll talk.
Well, rad. Well, before we get into the meat of the episode, which is going to be breaking down the February 12th patch, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN for supporting us. We've been working on some stuff behind the scenes. You'll probably see pretty damn soon over there, by the way, on the Patreon. But first of all, Kyle, you and I did a week sauce this week, so if you want to hear Kyle and myself talk about everything except Heroes of the Storm, movies we've been enjoying, other video games we've been enjoying, just palling around for 2 hours, that's up for patrons right now. It'll go out on a delay to the old week sauce feed, but if you want to go support our Patreon over at patreon.com/ITN, not only are you going to get access to the Discord, not only are you going to get access to the ad-free feed, but you're going to get week sauce as soon as we record it. We're going to start doing them once a month for the next few months. So yeah, thanks to our patrons for supporting us. If you like the podcast, you want to support us, head on over there. And let's thank some of our newer patrons, Toby from Switzerland, Daniel Scrutch, and Nim. And I am Nim. Thank you very much for the support. And now, without further ado, Kyle, there's a lot of balance going on. Let's get into it with this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes, I'd mana tap that.
All right, so the February 12th patch is, it's here because it's now February 16th. That would make a lot of sense. Just in time for Valentine's. This is the Heroes of the Storm devs' Valentine to us, Kyle.
Aw.
Just us, no one else.
No, well, no other games, right?
Right, exactly. So we're going to go in order of the patch, as we've been doing for a while now, which means we're kicking it off with tanks. And by the way, they fixed an issue where some Grandmaster accounts could be restricted from queuing with Masters. So, baby steps.
Yep, we're getting there.
Yep. But first up is Cho. So they're messing with Cho. They said in regards to his trait, we want optimal play for Cho'gall to have Gall's Ogre Rage be active most of the time, with emergency switches to Cho's Ogre Hide when he's in danger. There are a few talents on Cho'gall's tree that de-incentivize this behavior, which we are adjusting now. Callous Tide in particular was becoming an issue as players have recently been finding it optimal to stay in Ogre Hide for the entire game, which removes the gameplay around the trait. And so that's exactly, we're seeing Callous Tide, new functionality when you're under 60% maximum health. Cho is going to receive a 15% additional movement speed and healing received. And so, yeah, that's in line with what they're trying to accomplish here.
Right, and this is technically a nerf, as they said. Previously, while an Ogre Hide, increased healing received and movement speed by 15%. So you would just hang out in this. And I know to a lot of people, it seems weird that Cho and Gall are getting messed with so much. They are seeing high-end play, and even in solo queue, those Braxuses or Braxi. And, you know, sometimes you get a little weird on like Infernal Shrines and organized play. It happens. So Cho is worth these constant balances that are happening right now. They also worked with his Enraged Regeneration, which I think is genius. Basically, this patch, if you want to, highlight the mini thesis, the project that the team was working on is making healing more visible. So there were talents throughout the talent trees that increased your passive regeneration while you were under some sort of effect or in some sort of state. Now that gives you healing per second as regeneration. So you will actually feel it. You will see numbers floating off you as like a regrowth was on you, as though a spell was on you. Instead of just saying passive regeneration is increased, what does that mean? I don't know. Did you feel it? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Chos are still going to Cho.
Chos are still going to Cho. That is true.
Mal'Ganis also got some nerfs. Health went down from 2,600 to 2,500. That is just shy of a 4% cut to Mal'Ganis's health. Regeneration was obviously brought in line as well. That's always the case with that. And also Carrion Swarm, your heroic there at level 10, had 20 more seconds tacked onto the cooldown, bringing it up to a full 100 second cooldown, and also saw just shy of a 5% damage reduction.
Not a huge deal for Mal'Ganis is out there. The health decrease, of course, is going to mean more random deaths, less time to activate your Carrion Swarm, and now with a 20-second increase on its cooldown, Carrion Swarm might be used more defensively rather than offensively. What was happening a lot of the time is Mal'Ganis was entertaining the entire enemy backline for your team. And then as they started to target him down with that extra bit of health, with that extra bit of damage, which damage equals percent health, it has nothing to do with his overall health, so there's not kind of a double nerf going on here. He would then jump into Carrion Swarm and dodge it. Or heck, he might even use the damage aggressively to finish off a retreating team with the movement speed provided at level 13 with the main talent there. So it's a light touch.
Yeah, these are we're adding tiny little windows here, right? Your chance to kill Mal'Ganis has just gotten a little bit better, and your chance to escape a pursuing Mal'Ganis with a Carrion Swarm to try and clean up also just got a little bit better.
I'm curious to see where he ends up. Right now, he is, as we've talked about in previous weeks, just first pick material unless the enemy team knows how to counter pick, which also means knowing how to play your counter picks. And I think that's the thing that makes him so interesting. ETCs have to push him back while he's engaging. Lucios need to boop him. Polymorphs need to happen when Mal'Ganis is trying to engage. There are so many different counter picks, which is why I love the team's baby step here. How do they maneuver this guy in the future? Because he still is extremely powerful. You should be working on him for next season.
Yeah, he feels like he's a little bit in old Anubarak territory, right? Because he has the survivability. He has a bit more survivability that Anubarak used to have and really doesn't anymore, unless your team overdrafted spell power. And so we're seeing a very similar kind of systematic breakdown of Mal'Ganis's bedrock nature.
There's an interesting bit about Anub'arak happening right now, too. He, with Cocoon, can Cocoon unstoppable targets. So he might be our new best Butcher counter, now that Butcher can't be blound during his charge. However, Anub'arak is also mad weak to auto attack damage, which Butcher has tons of. So he's not really servicing anything but that small niche we talked about versus, Mephisto, Lunara kind of comps. I'm curious to see if maybe Arthas takes that place. If you're out there and you love Butcher, you should be taking him right now. He is incredible, and they, with the Unstoppable Chain, shored up his biggest weakness in the draft.
Yeah. Yep. Now you just made me think of Raynor into Mal'Ganis and how happy I am when that happens.
Yeah, that's you got a little pushback.
Just push him back. Nope, not today. That's what you say to Mal'Ganis. Let's take a look at Muradin. They said that while minor, these buffs, because Muradin got some buffs here, should help bring him back into the spotlight as a valuable member of any team. So they're looking to Muradin already never really stopped seeing play. Muradin's always kind of there, right? We have our Muradin diehards. And also, I think people that just been playing a while, when they're forced into the tank role, they're just like, oh, I used to play Muradin. Let's just do that. I think that there's also a lot of that happens with Muradin. But Dwarf Toss had an armor amount increase, and it's going from 20 to 25. I mean, that is a 20% increase. That's nothing to sneeze at. And then we had some talent adjustments in level 1. Block is gone now, and he has a new talent called Dwarf Block. And how this works is that casting Dwarf Toss now grants Muradin 4 charges of 75 physical armor against the next enemy hero basic attack, and those charges last for 10 seconds after that Dwarf Toss.
So Dwarf Block, by the way, that armor was increased up to a total of 30 on the Dwarf Toss.
Mm-hmm.
Dwarf Block was the most popular talent pick according to statistic websites we have, which do have some issues right now. I don't know if we want to get into that a little bit.
Just there's an issue with HOTS API. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's causing problems on all of the statistics websites.
Yeah, so take statistics with a grain of salt right now. But Dwarf Block has traditionally been very popular, and it was very old school, very random. I love block talents that you can control. So casting Dwarf Toss while you still have your armor and it's at a maximum, so it's a little kind of redundant and weird. That's still 10 sweet seconds of having that physical armor to block things, and that'll help you get really deep and survive while you're really deep. And I love that it's controllable, as they should be.
Yeah, Block has over the past year had a kind of deceptively high win rate on most of the warriors and bruisers that have access to it. It's just that it's not a particularly sexy talent, right? So we're not like, yeah, Block, but it gets work done.
Right, every 5 seconds, as the bolt flies at you and you might run away a little bit, it might turn on and save you. We'll see. I mean, with Dwarf Toss having the armor, that means for both engages and disengages, because those auto attacks sort of trace you through the air, you're still going to benefit from that armor on both styles, disengage and engage. I'm really excited to see what Arthas gets, because Arthas is one of those last few, sure, it has a special name, Rhyme, but one of those last few with the every few seconds, 5 seconds, get a block charge. I would love to see what they're going to attach that to. Would it be Frostmourne? Would it maybe be your aura? What can you put on Arthas's kit for his block to make that unique? I think Sonya also still has boring old block.
It's called Tough as Nails, but it's basically block. It's every 16 seconds you get 60 physical armor against enemy hero attacks. Basic attacks, and you can store up to 3 charges, and then it has a Sonya specialty, which is that it charges faster, 200% faster, while Fury's movement speed bonus is active. So they've already Sonya-fied it. I actually take this a ton, an absolute ton, and my win rate with it is actually pretty freaking high. Does Arthas just have plain old block still?
Yeah, plain old block.
So who else still has plain old block? Is it just Arthas? No, his is called Rhyme.
Right, but it's plain old block.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing here that's actually Arthas specific. It's just every 5 seconds you gain 75 physical armor So it's more than what Sonya gets, but Sonya has a way to speed up getting your stacks back. Or your charges back. Stacks is a bad word to use. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, this is just boring old block. They just changed the name.
Artanis has reactive parry tied to Twin Blade. So many heroes are getting ways to control when the activation happens. And even better if it's tied to something used for engaging because you are walking in. That is why Mal'Ganis's block, though, again, might be bugged because of infinite stacks on that, is just amazing because the tanks got to get in there, get everything set up for the team. And as that team catches up and those Anduins go, whoa, wait, what are we doing? And run forward, then he's safe and he survived the engagement.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Stitches, who you've mentioned the last couple of weeks could probably use a little bit of love. Been having a rough time out there. And the developers seem to agree because they said we're giving Stitches some love by slightly increasing his crowd control capabilities and moving his level 16 talents to come online earlier in the game because they believe that it adds a lot of power to his ability to function as a frontline warrior. And so first off, we've got a basic kit buff, which is to slam. The slow amount on slam, no talents, anything, just baked in the slam, has gone from 40 to 45%. So you're going to be slowing targets even more with your slam. And we also had the healing increased on Patchwork Creation at level 1 to both healing from minions and healing from heroes. More so from the minions, a larger increase overall if we're looking at percentages. But then if you want to look at what's been moved around from 16, they're all at 13 now. Fishing Hook, Meat Hook, and Pulverize have all been moved to level 13 from level 16. And some of them are untouched. Fishing Hook didn't get nerfed at all. It's just Fishing Hook as we know it. Meat Hook no longer has a 4-second restriction after hitting enemy heroes with Hook for its proc to reapply via basic attacks. So that's rad. So you can get it earlier and it's better.
Yeah.
And Pulverize had the slow amount increased. So the minor went from 75% to 80%, but still, these except for Fishing Hook, Meat Hook and Pulverize both got buffs, and you can now get them 3 levels sooner.
But you know what, Garrett? I'm sad.
Why? Because Lacerate, Digestive Juices, and Gas Flare just got moved to 16 and didn't get buffed or anything?
Yes. Not so much that even that 13s are now 16s and they're not better. Digestive Juices at 13, hitting an enemy hero with Devour, reduce the cooldown by 5 seconds and cause that hero hit to deal 50% reduced damage for 5 seconds. This was the old drippies, as we've called them, but this was your sneaky way to basically say, no, you don't, Genji. Maybe not the best example, but whoever it may be, no, you do not. 50% reduced damage. I have to get the Stitches to 13. Then we can start winning. Then we can start turning things around. Meat Hook, very attractive right now. Stitches should be, basically in that sort of invincibility, kill him last because he's just such a force on the battlefield. Patchwork Creation helps with that. But the way I played him anyway was very Devour focused, was second helping at 20, and all about reducing just one hero's damage. Li Ming, Calamity's in. You're done, Li Ming. You are not getting any more resets. 50% reduced damage. And I already struggled to take this guy in the first place. I love playing him. I put a lot of work into him last season. I don't know what to do with him right now.
Do we need to get rid of Digestive Juices and just make that like a quest that you just start the game with?
I mean, that'd be kind of interesting, right? Just biting a whole bunch of people, maybe tie it to Savor the Flavor. There's already a lot going on with Savor the Flavor, but that was kind of my particular style, certainly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, would say, I don't know. I was just looking at the text. It doesn't take that long to read through Savor the Flavor. We could maybe add a little something else on there.
Yeah,
there's certainly more complicated
quests in the game.
Yeah, maybe there's a thing there. But the thing is too, if that just becomes the way you play Stitches, at what point do we look at maybe baking it in somewhere that isn't even a talent? So maybe we can actually open up some build diversity.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what their overall plan with Stitches is. This is a nice update to get him The tools that he needs maybe in more organized play, like Fishing Hook at 13, is a huge win for anyone who plays picky stitches, backline stitches, the kind of stitches we don't like to see in solo queue environments. But all these 16 tools do increase his team play, which I agree with. Now I just want to see them shore up him in terms of just joining a normal solo draft.
Yeah. As far as Tyrael, because he's up next, is concerned, Archangel's Wrath is the big interesting thing here. Is on his trait, they've added an additional functionality that each enemy hero hit, this is going to be after you die and you do your little explodey thing, every enemy hero you hit is going to reduce Tyrael's death timer by 10%. So a little bit of Leoric going on with your Tyrael death trait now. The dev said that it's been a long-standing request to give Tyrael's trait some more oomph. So we're giving him a thematic change where he can reduce his death timer when hitting enemy heroes. We don't expect this to be a huge win rate bump, but we do think it makes it feel a bit better to play as the Archangel of Justice. Kyle, are you looking at this going, where the shit was this 3 years ago when you were constantly playing Tyrael going, I'm going to die, fight, I'm going to die.
Granted, back then I would explode and give everyone like ridiculous 50% health shields, so it was a very different world then. I do think that it's extremely balanced what they've done here. 10%. You know, we're not talking a flat amount. So there's not going to be any, sudden Tyrael and hey, he's back on the field Diablo style moments. Cursed Hollow goes forever because Tyrael just died. Whoops, he's back. No, this is percent. If he dies in the early game, it's not going to be that huge of a reduction. He'll still show up maybe a little earlier than you expected. I mean, just if I can argue semantics, upon dying, become invulnerable. That's about the saddest part of the statement. Because, yeah, you're invulnerable because you're dead and a ghost. Like, whoops. The saddest part about his trait is that it sounds cooler than it is. But hey, he explodes for damage. I like that they added this in. I think it starts to work towards judgment feelings. I don't know when I want him outside of sanctification in a organized environment yet.
I think that's fair. And I frankly, the dev comments is also, it's not teeing this up as some major game-changing thing for Tyrael.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice touch. That's where I'm categorizing this.
Man, there's so much I love about Tyrael. He definitely has the same kind of problem as Stitches in that he can't hold the front line. We've joked about Johanna being, the grab bag, like, here, whole team, someone grab this. But at 10, you can turn that around into something more engage-based. I don't think his 10s need work. I'm just so curious to think, what could make Tyrael main tank while still enjoying that very busy flying night feel that he has.
Yeah. I get kind of excited when I see him. So I hope that they keep kind of massaging the Tyrael here and figuring out ways to improve him. Because I'd like to play with more Tyraels. But there's a bigger fish to fry right now, and one of them is the mad aspect, Deathwing, who has once again found himself in the crosshairs this week of additional nerfs, probably to the surprise of no one, because you and I, after the last patch, were like, I think we're still banning Deathwing and Aureil, and that has certainly turned out to be the case. The dev said that Deathwing continues to be a force to be reckoned with, so we're continuing to adjust his power level down, and then they, doubled down saying that they were taking a more incremental approach, which has certainly been the case here, and I'm fine with it. I don't really want them to just nerf him into the ground and make him unplayable. And so Deathwing's basic attack damage is down now. It's gone from 170 to 155. That's almost a 9% decrease. It's nothing to sneeze at there. That you were going to notice that, I think, when you're chunking fools with your basic attack. And then and then Incinerate, you're on your W. The damage was reduced from 75 to 70, a little over 5% there. Cataclysm had the periodic damage reduced from 11 to 10, which doesn't sound like much, but again, these are constant ticks that are happening. This is actually a 9% decrease in the damage you're going to be doing with this heroic. And then finally, Skyfall level 7 had the healing reduced from 3% down to 2.5% of your maximum health. So these are all noteworthy nerfs.
I like that they're avoiding decreasing his maximum health more. We still got to feel like a big dragon, and the armor, because it fades off. You have to manage it by going into space. Isn't really sustaining that giant dragon health feel. And the weaker it gets, of course, the more armor falls off. So, that reverse Garrosh sort of moment happens. I like this. I'm sad to see auto attack damage go down because it was such a reliable part of Deathwing's kit. He's got a big mouth. It just should hurt when he bites you. But decreasing his reliability also means that you kind of have this more dragon breath, don't stand in his way when he flies across the barrens sort of theme going on. And that matches Deathwing just fine for me. The weird part is that Dragon Soul and Heat Wave, these are your double stacks of your Incinerate at 1 and 4, are still the go-to talents. And it seems like no matter how many nerfs they kind of put in this environment, that continues to be the playstyle because Deathwing's going to land, be unstoppable, and walk on top of people in an ideal situation, healing himself, dealing damage. That's how he has a heavy presence. The nerf to Burn Beneath My Shadow, this is his Cataclysm nerf, which of course, level 10 is a % increase of that damage. Also feels kind of light. They call it a nerf bad. I don't know how much more nerf this can be. It's inflatable at this point. Like we're hitting down this damage number that was already extremely small. And if your team doesn't have any siege damage, you're not getting building resets anyway. So I feel like we're just constricting Deathwing into this area where he's really good against Fury Varians. Anything that just has to really, really hug close. Maybe that Butcher. Maybe this is a great counter pick to Butcher now because he has CC and wants to stay close. But that is such a crowded environment. We're not in the old days. I remember on the show like a year ago, maybe 2 even. We're sitting around being like, oh, let's just, I think it was on Ragnarok's release. We're like, let's just stop punishing people for grouping up. There are so many talents based on hitting 2 heroes at once that give resets or more damage. Let's shore that up. And we did. We've moved away, and there's less counters to that. Kael'thas, of course, deserves his bans because he's such a kit-based hero that ruins that grouping up. And Deathwing has now entered a world where we're not grouping up so much right now. We are kind of in a single tank, heavy backline, and roaming bruiser territory. And that's not where Deathwing's going to succeed. And he can't hold on to the backline because they run away fast. So tough for the dragon.
Yeah, and yet he's still doing well and dictating our bans.
Yeah, because he's weird. No one wants to be, channeling an objective, have meteorites hit them, then suddenly a dragon lands, and you're like, well, I'm not accessing this for the next 30 seconds.
Exactly. Like it because of I think you hit the nail on the head right there. To me, I look at this as like Deathwing is a hero that is powerful because of the battlegrounds that exist in this game, and he's good on a lot of them. He's good at manipulating a lot of it. His global nature makes him very good at reporting to objectives or denying objectives. And I don't think I don't know. I'm not sure I'm on this. Are you saying that you think they've nerfed him too much here? Because that's the vibe I'm getting.
No, I think these are the correct nerfs to be making. It's not changing opinions because the superior play style is still to dig heavily into these talents and the incinerate build that he already was going from release. So balance is conflicting with his natural play style.
That's fine. I think it thematically it feels weird for Deathwing not to do a lot of damage, but because he's so strong at just showing up and throwing a wrench into things, I don't think he also necessarily needs to be able to murder everyone.
Right.
I think there's a lot of value in Deathwing already, in just what he brings to the disruption arena. And maybe, clearly, because they're going after basic attack, they're going after incinerate damage. They're going against damage across the board here, with the exception of Skyfall, which is a healing thing. I think that he has a lethality issue.
Yeah, which is fine. And if we enter that low lethality Deathwing area, I would love to see him receive buffs in other places. Like, how cool would it be to sort of pilot him during Cataclysm? It's such a long wind up. We use it as an escape right now because you go deep, you get the building, you get the reset, and then you fly away. That's cute. That's cool. It looks nice. What if you could actually kind of moving your cursor Just kind of, you know, give him little angles and spins as he moves about, because it is low damage anyway.
What
like,
I just had a thought. You want to hear something?
Sure.
Why don't I realize there's only one person controlling Deathwing, right? This isn't a Cho'gall situation.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just reward us more for killing Deathwing? Why don't we just make Deathwing worth two deaths?
Ooh, I mean,
kill.
Yeah, I mean, we have Misha and Rexar, we have Murky, we have other heroes that have different death amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Because I don't want him to become too nerfed. Because I like where Cho'Gall's at. Because Cho'Gall can be lethal, right? If you don't respect the Cho'Gall, if you let the Cho'Gall get a perfect setup, the Cho'Gall can totally run the field. And yet, if you kind of play around correctly and you actually counter and kill the Cho'Gall, you are rewarded with it, I think, a correct amount in that you get significantly more experience, double so, for killing the Cho'Gall. And I realized that the cute thing there, that the springboard for wanting Cho'Gall to be worth 2 deaths is because it's actually 2 people piloting the Cho'Gall. You know, maybe we play around with that. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of an interesting thing to try.
We could honestly just make his death timer longer too.
Yeah.
Since he flies and joins fights faster anyway. And that's what, you know, things like Skyfall we're just using too universally. I absolutely agree with the nerfs continue to be there. Landing reduces spell armor. I'm just looking at 7s here. Landing zone, each meteor reduces Dragonflight's cooldown by 25 seconds. I mean, Dragonflight is almost always on cooldown when you get back from a death anyway. So let's make that death longer, perhaps. I see the struggle. I know that someone right now is dying from both these suggestions, XP increase or longer death timers. But I think we both just want the dragon to remain dragony, to remain epic. And
I want to be afraid of him, is what it boils down. I don't want to just be inconvenienced because Deathwing interrupted my channel, right? I also want to be like, crap, Deathwing's here. Let's come up with a game plan.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't think this is an over nerf, but if we continue going, if this is not enough, where do we go from here? And I think it's interesting to think about things like more XP for killing him or longer death timers, because unlike Cho'Gall, this is not a hero that you can shore up by double supporting. Like you have no way to interact with Deathwing's health bar as another hero. So it would be interesting just to take that approach. And maybe not 2. Maybe 2 deaths is too much. Maybe a death and a half. Who knows? At a certain point, you could just manipulate the experience he gives upon death. It could be into a scaling type thing. Who knows?
I don't think it's impossible. I mean, you go back to Malthael or even Leoric release and say, hey, future folk, they're going to have cleaving attacks. And we all go, what? That makes no darn sense. You're crazy. Why do that? They're fine. And maybe he just needs something weird.
Frankly, I'm still a little sad he doesn't do passive damage on his tail if you stand behind him.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cute. Like,
I wanted
just get pushed out of the way.
I wanted something bad to happen to you if you got touched by his tail. But whatever. I think we've spent enough on Deathwing. Time will tell if this goes far enough to see Deathwing finally not get banned almost every damn game. But we'll report more later. Let's move into Malthael, which I am weirdly excited about what happened to Malthael. So, Throwing Shade no longer has a quest component. The cooldown reduction was reduced by 1 second, so you're down to 3 seconds off of your cooldown. And the mana cost of Death Shroud after you take this talent is going to increase from 25 to 30. I am okay with all of this. Dev said that Throwing Shade has not really worked out as an interesting quest talent, in their opinion. I actually disagree with this. I love Throwing Shade. But I'm fine with this because now I don't need a quest for it. They said that as Malthael is often in a solo lane with only one opponent, rather than gate the benefit behind what is often an arbitrary time gate, we're going to just give him its benefits immediately. Hell to the yes. Kyle, I love Throwing Shade. I'm super into this.
So I remember in the past where I came to you on the show and was like, Garrett, final curtain. And you're like, you're insane. And I remember you went off and you played tons of Malthael and you came back and you're like, oh my God, final curtain. And you have been all about the Throwing Shade since then. The problem is, as they say in this statement, Malthael is being used in the solo lane, which means he's trying to get sweet 1v1 picks, which means die alone. and things like Cold Hand are just the Q build awesomeness. And you got people like Not Paradox, and I believe others online all the time being like, just hold down Q. It's so easy to play Malthael. Why won't you do this? What is wrong with you? You shouldn't be silver anymore. And that's fine. Getting sweet picks is good. And you win your solo lane. How cool is that there might be a world where things like Final Curtain work out and you can zone massively? People should not let it touch them in the first place. The mana cost increase doesn't really matter, as you mentioned. I'm excited about it. I mean, overall, we might want to consider this a nerf because they went on to make Last Rites cooldown 5 seconds longer. Oh no, 65 to 70. You still can reduce it at level 20, but a little few Last Rites reductions.
You're also skipping Tormented Souls, which had 20 seconds taken off of its cooldown, which is huge. Like, yeah, 5 seconds got added on a Last Rite. I think it's fair. It kind of needs it. It's still very popular and very effective. Right? But Tormented Souls, what? I don't care, man. I know you've spent a good amount of this episode talking about how we're not as in a clump meta as we used to be, but if we ever return there, Malthael has the package.
It's true. Tormented Souls is a world I pined for again, wrongfully. It did not match the game's, particularly the pro scene environment's needs. It is a team-based game, and Kerrigan Maelstrom, Tormented Souls, Genji with the Dragon Soul, it meant you had one carry and you Uther shielded him and he took care of the whole enemy team, and everyone was there to double support, double tank that one character. I loved it because it was so easy to read on the battlefield. Things like my digestive juices stitches and saying, no, you don't. 50% reduction to those characters. Granted, that wouldn't matter with Tormented Souls, which makes it a bit more interesting. So that's kind of neat. But we're not in that sort of meta right now. The game does not encourage that playstyle. And until it does, Tormented Souls just sort of stacks on top of his trait, which is applied by Shroud and his auto attack. So why take it?
Because it's fun, and
because it's awesome,
and my opponents
totally
win a clump comp.
Yeah, it's absolutely. If it is awesome, you're going something like Inevitable End, maybe, to make yourself unstoppable for 2 seconds into a mosh pit, what have you. You teleport in. You didn't take die alone anyway, so you're just ripping everybody apart and eating their souls and just being a boss cinematic. And it is an awesome fantasy, and I want to join you in it.
I want my job to not be solo lane on Braxis so that I can go this build on Braxis for the freaking point fights. That'd be incredible, but sadly, you usually end up solo laning.
Well, at least you don't have to quest it anymore, so it doesn't hurt that you got stuck in the solo lane when you want to do this build. So awaken the fury, Garrett.
You should probably still die alone in that scenario because you're going to be 1v1ing a lot in that game. But
you're not hurting everybody as much. I want you to come back next week and just say, like, Kyle, you were wrong. I woke the beast. Everyone knew how amazing Garrett was on the internet because my thrown shade was so ridiculously thrown. It was awesome.
You're asking me you want me to throw shade on you.
Yeah, but while not throwing, right? You got to win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winning shade.
Winning shade. All right, let's move into support. Abathur. They want to... This is interesting. So I'm just going to read the dev comment in full. They said, to curb some of the frustrating gameplay where Abathur can continuously backdoor enemy keeps, we're reducing some of the buffs we gave to Locust Strain, as well as changing the functionality of Prolific Dispersal. While Abathur players can still do the strategy, it will be more difficult to pull off, as Abathur will have to travel to a more central location on the map to plant a toxic nest for vision to burrow into the enemy base. They just buffed him, man. They just buffed the app. I feel so bad for Abathur players.
Man, we are going back and removing a talent he has had for a very long time, in a sense. I mean, well, actually, no. 2019 April is when we got the increased range on Toxic Nest. When was it that Toxic Nest became global? Maybe that was a whole different thing. Remember that?
Do not remember.
There was it was Haunted Mines, and Abathur couldn't put, well, he could, because technically the basement was south of the main map. So if he like sort of hugged the bottom of the map, he could put mines into the basement of Haunted Mines. You could then take a talent that allowed you to put them anywhere. And that meant you could access the mines and you could stay bottom lane while putting mines in the top of Sky Temple, for instance. So we are making Abathur move around. And I really like this idea. It feels like we're reverting a classic talent, and it's kind of odd. We're ruining with his core identity. But people were doing the backdoor strategy. If you're not familiar with this, there is little sweet spots in the enemy core base where you could put a mine, therefore have sight, dig in, drop a pile of locusts, hearth out, and those locusts would destroy the keep. And it was fabulous, and Abathurs were giggling all week, and now it is gone.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's healthy.
We just need to give Abathur the soak ability back. I know it's scary. I know you and I are kind of enjoying our Abathur free life, but
yeah.
It's just a lot of work to make Abathur work.
Yeah. I do wonder, a little off topic here, but I do wonder what Abathur would look like in a world without Evolved Monstrosity. The risk of taking Abathur, particularly in quick match, solo queue, is Abathur might choose to go the exact opposite direction as to what the team needs. And having that clone hero means you can finally have even fights. Sometimes monstrosities make team fights. Sometimes they're absolute beasts that no one can deal with. But that's your dream Illidan scenario from earlier.
Yeah.
So could we just, like, if we got rid of monstrosity, not saying we should, but if we did, what would Abathur's balance look like instead? How much could we shore him up to be a more classic hero?
I think I mean it's hard for I don't know that I don't have an original suggestion. I think he needs to be able to body soak again, and so like giving him some kind of weird range where he can actually vacuum up, giving him some kind of exception to the XP orbs that we've seen. Right? Because he can't sit in a bush and get XP orbs, right? Can we place an exception onto Abathur? And then do we have to do the same thing for Lost Vikings?
You know what? Your vacuum statement gets my brain a cooking. What if? I know that we're in this weird spot where his locusts are the giveaway of his location. But it's also like he's supposed to be evolving constantly to be the perfect being. Why would he give away his location, particularly if he's not investing talents into Locust Strain and whatnot to take advantage of the thing he's doing? What if he could break off his bottom and that thing literally vacuumed XP? Like 0 range, a lot like our Locust Nest at 20, but he limps his way, slugs on out onto the field, plops his butt down, squeezes out a little nest. Now his butt is there generating locusts, and that thing literally vacuums. XP is flying into the bush, just in it goes, Luigi style, and you got to go now destroy that nest. And Abathur's somewhere else doing things, maybe hatting things, but exposing his butt's
So you're suggesting
location.
let a locust nest just vacuum XP?
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting way to do it. That's a more active way to do it.
Yeah, or let Abathur do that with XP, but also he can leave his butt behind.
I think to a certain point, though, like the old way of doing it, where an Abathur could like sit in a bush if a lane got a little pushed out to continue getting XP, that puts Abathur in more danger and therefore is more interesting.
Right.
You're actually making if you allow the locust nest to have a large radius and break the bush rule of radius for XP orbs, that's actually keeping the Abathur significantly safer than he's ever been.
Right.
Now, he's exposed the moment while he's putting it down, but then he is no longer exposed once it's down.
Exactly. You see him move around the map more and maybe expose his location that way. But you're absolutely right. Why not, like Lava Wave, just give Abathur an addendum that he can soak from a bush?
Yeah.
And Locusts will always give him away anyway. And particularly now, XP orbs will give him away anyway. That's great. Who can disagree with that? Like Abathur is literally like constantly being like, I am here. Someone should kill me in this particular bush. What's the harm?
Yeah. Give him like some sort of like, give him a little beetle that runs out and grabs the orb and brings it back. If you want to theme it.
Yeah.
Probably more work than it's worth. But whatever. I'm into this just because Fane in the chat room says, so this is a butt sucker?
Yeah. I'm sure there's wasps are freaky. Things do things.
Sure.
But
why not?
I mean, I love audio cues as well. Honestly, like Mosh Pit. If you do not have game sound on, you're not countering Mosh Pit. A huge part of that particular heroic is the sound.
You hear the cowbell, man. Ting, ting, ting.
Yeah, man.
Oh, here it comes.
Yep, exactly. There are Feast, Orpheus Feast. Half the power of it is like there's so many graphical things going on. You don't actually know where the circle is anymore. You're just, the thing is going, but Orpheus always summoning random purple business all over. Like, you're not paying attention to this huge graphic. What if Abathur like giggled from the bush? Or just like, blah, 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 blah. Steve Blum was like, blah, 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 rubbing his hands together. And, when you're looking around the map, you're kind of listening. You're like, oh, I can hear him glooping in that bush.
Gloop, gloop.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well, anyways, shall we move on?
Yes.
To the Z's, to Zarya. They said that Plasma Shock, in particular, is not seeing much play, so we're rolling its functionality into pinpoint accuracy and buffing other talents on the tier to keep their competitiveness. We're also redesigning Clear Out to give a massive cooldown reduction to Expulsion Zone instead of a radius increase, as we found the radius increase to not be the most impactful or fun level 20 upgrade. I personally enjoy a good radius increase, but if it's not impactful, that's another thing. So, yeah. It's been a while since you've been on the Zarya train.
It has. She is weak, in my opinion, she is weak to the things she counters. So, yes, you might save your melee or what have you, give him a shield and run away, but now you are exposed. I don't think there's anything wrong with that design. I think Zarya is great at saving someone from an Alarak. She is weak to Alarak. That's fine. What they're doing is kind of interesting. Expulsion Zone gets a radius increase now at 10. So baked in. And at 20, you can get that down to a 20-second cooldown. So you could be expulsing all the time. That's really fabulous and a lot of fun. Now, Plasma Shock at level 16, that not a lot of people are taking. Some Zaryas swear by it if they're all Q build, and that's a fun way to play, is now part of pinpoint accuracy at level 7, which means maybe you can apply slows to heroes that benefit from things like that early on, like Raynor, or maybe a Nubarak, or give him the axe with Muradin. So there's a little more combo potential with Zarya giving away slows at level 7 instead. Damage increase on explosive barrier. In general, 7 is a lot more of a power spike for Zarya, no matter what you take.
So heroes like this, they're strange, right? Because they don't fit a traditional slot in a comp, right?
Right.
It's kind of like we've been talking about mages for a while now, and the issue with taking mages that don't have lane clear. And so, like, I feel like particularly unique heroes like Zarya, like Medivh, like they need to bring enough in their oddities to offset what they're missing. And so, like, do you think Zarya is as good as Medivh? Because we've found ways to make Medivh work because of the immunity that his shield brings.
Yeah, and Medivh has just a 100% place in any meta because Kel'Thuzad exists. If you choose to instead say, I'm going to get all the energy, I'm Zarya, and I will shield you when Kel'Thuzad hits you, that shield will not hold. Zarya is not going to be a great addition, going like, don't worry, friends. Wait, that wasn't, Russian, whatever. She runs in and then she's like, with her big laser gun. That is just another target for Kel'Thuzad now. So she doesn't work in that direction. Same thing. She's weak to the things she counters. I think when I see a Medivh picked in those sort of situations, I'm like, oh, good thinking, Medivh. When I see a Murky, regardless of comp, I go, hey, Murky, solo lane, maybe Bruiser. Probably not going to play that way, but at least there's a chance. Zarya, Bruiser in the 4-man. What? Okay, that takes a slot. Maybe Battlefield Attorney, we're going to suffer. Zarya in the solo lane. What? Who's she going to shield? What's the point of that?
You now have an entire cooldown that's just pointless.
Right, and I don't want to enter a world where like Zarya is shielding a minion, because then you're misclicking on the hero you wanted to hit a minion. That we've shored that up across our supports. Nobody's healing. I think it's maybe Uther's like the last one who's still healing lane minions. But like Malfurion cannot do it. He can't heal anything. I don't really want to enter a world where Zarya is like shielding a gnoll on Alterac Pass as it walks into tower range, and she gets a bunch of shields, and she runs in, starts buzzing the whole thing down, and that could be really, really powerful.
You just made me the most interested in Zarya I've ever been.
But it ain't right. You know, it's a
wonderful.
weird world.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Because I think of these, you and I both enjoy casual magic, right?
Where are you going?
The casual, the Magic, the Gathering.
Yeah,
your Zaryas, your Medivhs, these weird heroes that don't fill in traditional slots. You're blue in Magic. They go against your understanding of the majority of how the game is played. And so, but they need to bring enough. They need to do enough on their own to earn their place on that team. And I think Zarya is still just an odd fit that doesn't bring enough, even though she brings 2 shields as opposed to Medivh's 1, and they last for twice as long as the Medivh shield, but it's a damage absorber, not just straight up protect, and there's not a heal on the back end like there is with Medivh. It's interesting. I don't know. Strange. Zarya has never really clicked for me. There's been little windows of time where I've been really happy to see her on my team, but she just hasn't found her place, I think, like Medivh has. And I see a lot of similarities between the two in their uniqueness.
Could this all be shored up with a Azmodan Kel'Thuzad style gallop? Just give Zarya a little like Haja, as she does a little like a skip and goes a little bit of distance, like Tychus does, but we now have on Azmodan. And
let's see, you're describing Tychus, and she already kind of has a Tychus silhouette.
Yeah, that's true.
It'd be a little, I mean, yeah, sure, but how far are we going down this rabbit hole until we just have Tychus with shields?
Do we just make the same hero or a new hero that is completely different? It's true. I'm glad Zarya doesn't exist in the Overwatch world while she's moving while firing. That would be so frustrating. It's one thing to watch Tychus stutter step after you. You know it's not going well for at least the guy. He has things like overkill, but Zarya just locking on, spinning around you at normal move speed, maybe even faster because she took a talent for move speed, would just be insanely frustrating.
I think that might be what she needs.
It would bring her in line with other Overwatch heroes for sure.
I mean, it's an adjustable thing, right? If we give movement, we start bringing damage in. We start reining that in. Because how much did you talk about her standing still being a detriment in this entire conversation we've just had? So it's an interesting thought. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's a lot of this patch, and much like the last one, it's a lot of incremental adjustments, and so my brain is going to, well, what are we really battling here? Can we take bigger, riskier swings?
I think that this puzzle gets really interesting when we think about Uther. In a non-Uther is OP sort of world, Uther, chillin', solo support, and the other person in the draft says, I know how to shore up Uther. I'm going to take not a support, but Medivh, Abathur, Zarya. That situation starts to get interesting. How can we make Zarya a good choice for that? And even Medivh a good choice for that over any other support? Lili, Kharazim, just pile on a medic. Why not? Like, those situations sound so much more superior in more situations.
Yeah, I agree. So, I don't know. Zarya players, let us know. Right in itncast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. Let's move into healers and talk about Aureil, who, to the surprise of no one, is once again on the nerf block. The dev said that she has been performing a bit too well compared to other heroes for some time now. We're reducing some of her power to keep her more in line with her peers, starting with her basic attack. Basic attack going from 68 to 64. This is almost a 6% reduction in her basic attack damage. You happy with this, Kyle? You don't look happy.
Paint me a whole picture and then I'll talk.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sacred Sweep Outer damage reduced from 45 to 40. And inner damage reduced from 180 to 160. Is actually identical percentage adjustments here. This is an 11% reduction to both of these. So Sacred Swoop doing 11% less damage. And then finally Resurrect. Cooldown, getting 20 more seconds tacked onto it. It's a full 100-second cooldown now. And the delay before the target is resurrected is going from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. Is it enough?
Right. So Resurrect, they're targeting an area that we did not really consider. At least when we're all getting cute and being like, ooh, how can we nerf Resurrect? Let's increase the cast time. Let's decrease the range. Of all those thoughts, like the last thing we fell on is, I guess they could come back slower. They went for the one that we didn't think they would. And maybe that's bonus points to them, but still it feels kind of weird, and Resurrect still feels really, really good. The problem here is that Aureil players, I've been saying it for a while, Aureil is amazing. It had nothing to do with Resurrect. It was her base kit, and her own damage she was putting out was amazing. And now they're targeting that down. And Aureil has been brought in line. So remove Resurrect from the board, maybe? Aureil's normal now. Probably for the betterment of balance. Probably for the betterment of Lily's and everybody else who ends up off supporting, because Aureil took a lot of work to get decent at. But it is sad to see Aureil nerfed in the base kit. And I think she will now be in the lines of like Deckard. Not bad. Not bad. Just a lot of work. White maybe even. Just a lot of work to get good at, and you're not going to have that, OP that you may have wanted for all that work, which is fair. And I think they should have brought her in line a long time ago.
All right. So you think this is enough to get her out of the ban?
I think Resurrect still feels bad to people, but they should be looking elsewhere. I don't.
Well, that's something. I think that's fine, because how many times have we hit that over the history of this game, right? Of where, okay, we can stop. We had that with Diablo for a year, it felt like. We're like, stop banning Diablo, please. That's okay. I think that's okay. If you think we're there, that's a good thing for me.
I think we're there. I think we're with Garrosh, Kael'thas, all those sort of like, just get rid of them. We don't want to deal with that sort of situation. I think Aureil is now in that zone. I think there are much better things you can be doing too. In all honesty, like Resurrect is a counter to one person getting displaced and destroyed on full cooldown. All cooldowns, pyroblasts and everything. Garrosh cooldowns when to killing one person. You know what is actually sneaky amazing? That at doing that very same thing, Diamond Resolve at 20. When Crystal Aegis expires, grant that target 75 armor for 5 seconds. That person does not die. You could res them, or they could just never die in that situation. And in that very situation, you wouldn't want Shield of Hope anyway, because you're saving one person that you might be out of range of anyway for your Shield of Hope. So Aureil has the tools to do what Resurrect is doing anyway in other parts of her kit. We made it. It's a sad reality, but we made it.
I think it's time to like make a guide then, Kyle, so we can like have something to like send out to the greater community that isn't a 90-minute podcast and be like, hey, this is how Aureil can work, so we don't tilt people when we don't pick Resurrect.
Right, we're still, that's still level 20 talent. There, of course, you might want Resurrect in other situations. I think we're entering that Diablo world now. We're gonna see a slow trickle of Aureil being no longer a ban priority. I think Deathwing is still in that same place. No longer a ban priority. Get rid of things that early game are going to affect you, like Garrosh, Kael'thas.
This is a world where I wouldn't mind. This might be bonkers, but we're really putting a lot of our thoughts and crazy ideas out there on today's episodes. So why not roll with it? I wouldn't mind a world where stuff like this happens. Deathwing comes out a little strong. Aureil gets a rather strong Resurrect buff. Force us to not be able to ban them. Like, force us to learn to play against them.
Oh, wow.
I would not mind that. For like a week. Like, give us a week. Just like
Nexus Anomaly.
Like, bill it as a feature. Like, and this week, you can't ban these two heroes.
I mean, you're not even armchair designing. You are like full Xavier, like launching out of the cartoon Fox Kids X-Men ship and like flying down on your chair. Armchair designing, sitting in your Cerebro, like just coming up with random crap.
This is less me telling the devs what to do and more I want to tell the community what to do, which is learn how to play against these things.
And
In an environment that makes sense, right? Not just in quick match. Quick match is driving me nuts right now because the comps are just bonkers and I learn nothing. Kyle.
/ join A Move TV in game and put together a full comp, everyone out there, because that's how you're going to learn these things. It's I mean, of course, now we're starting to circle around to required comps. I'm willing, buttons that say I'm willing to wait for a better comp. Like there is no perfect world. It is a team game. Who knows? But what if unranked had no bans? Like then people could go learn how to play against these things. It's wild.
I'd be really interested in that. Anyways, moving on because we still got plenty of heroes to talk about. Malfurion, according to them, the devs, the rejuvenation didn't give much feedback to the player in regards to the benefit that it provided, or changing the talent to have a little more visual clarity in gameplay compared to before, which should help improve performance. So it has a new functionality that casting regrowth on an ally also grants Malfurion its effect for 50% of its normal duration. Previously, Malfurion gained 100% base health regeneration for every active regrowth, which, yeah, you're not really noticing that when it happens.
No, particularly as it falls and goes and this is way better. I really applaud the devs for going through, and I want to see more talent changes like this.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I really freaking do. Also, Revitalize at 13 got the mana gain increase from 50 to 6 or 50 to 80. It's a big jump there. Take a look at Revitalize if you're having some mana issues. Let's move straight along into Uther because they're nerfing him. They said whether he's played as a healer or a tank, Uther has proven to be too effective as his role, so we're reducing his overall power. Boo, I hate everything about this. Health has been reduced from 2075 to an even 2000. We would like to remind you that in December, his health was reduced from 2156 down to 2075. So since December, Uther has lost a whopping 7% of his base health. 7%, Kyle.
Yep.
Health regeneration obviously going down as well. Hammer of Justice. This makes me want to cry. The cooldown has been increased from 8 to 10 seconds. It's a 25% addition to the cooldown of Hammer of Justice. That is a lot fewer hammers across the course of an entire game as Uther. Whoa.
Yep. Yeah. Particularly when you're thinking about the hammer on 8-second cooldown. So slam on engage, everyone runs around wild and then another slam follows up and probably completes the kill at that point. If the first one didn't already get a kill, Uther just took a really big hit. He is certainly, in my opinion, the biggest loser of this patch. And holy shock, they did it. I remember we had Canabrew and other devs on in the past, and I'm like, are you coming for Holy Shock? Is that your big plan? Are you going to get, and they're like, no, nobody's going to touch Holy Shock. Well, they did it. 2 years later, they finally did it, Garrett, and Holy Shock's damage has been reduced from 50% of the heal to 40%, and it is getting right tiny. We are down to 169 damage when you take this at level 4. That's not scaring Sonya away, certainly. His solo lane ability never was fantastic, but he sort of covered it. That is decreasing rapidly. And you know who has a Q build that targets enemies just fine? Well, his name is Arthas. And at level 4, he's dealing, he's dealing 30 more damage or so, 192 with his Q. Arthas might be the new Uther. Granted, no armor contribution, Armor helps with the shields, helps with other healers, the double healing kind of thing.
Yes. I don't know. I for one am against all of this. A, I like playing Uther, and B, what are you doing? We're trying to switch up our bans here. If you left Uther alone, we would slowly start screaming at everyone to just pick Uther, and Uther might start getting banned instead of things like Deathwing and Aureil. Who knows? Who knows, Kyle? If we had just left Uther alone, but they're coming for Uther even when Uther's not getting bans.
I think it's fine, though, because we got map picks. We have other frustrating things. Garrosh, Kael'thas, like we've said. Like, Uther, this is perfectly healthy. I agree with this change. I think Holy Shock brought a lot of value when he was being played as an off tank, particularly for the poke. And I'm really excited for a world where maybe Arthas, who handles a solo lane just fine, who brings a lot to a team fight, particularly with things like Zul'jin on the team, who needs to connect, Tychus, who's got to get in really close range. I am excited for readability in that way. You see Uther and another support, and your brain kind of goes, well, what are they doing? But you see ETC and Arthas, and you go, oh, frontline. That's what is that a support? No, it's Arthas. No confusions to be made. I think Arthas is the big winner when Uther goes down.
Yeah.
Which is cute.
I don't think he ever really went away. I think Arthas has been an okay pick for the whole time. It just hasn't been a sexy, like, popular pick.
Yeah, we have better solo laners who can fill an off lane job. We have better off tanks. We have better main tanks. But now a hole has opened, and I feel like Arthas really fills that, and I'm excited for the guy.
I am too. That's why I want to start playing him again. Moving to the melee assassin, Medivh is back up this week. They said that they weren't satisfied with the changes that they made to Cruel Chain. They don't think it was a clear enough win for the hero overall, so they're going to revert those changes. But they are happy with the Vengeful Knives. So that's staying. So Cruel Chain has been reverted. Umbral Bind grants 25% movement speed for 2.5 seconds. In addition, each time Medivh deals damage to tethered targets, Umbral Bind's pull damage to all targets is increased by 30% up to 150.
Cool. Thank you for reverting something that didn't work. Like that's great. Thank you.
I'm always happy to see that.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, why keep it? We don't need to stick with things that aren't working. Azmodan, they said that his level 16 All Shall Burn talents have been in a bit of an awkward spot due to competing with one another. So they're putting the talents on separate tiers and moving Trample down to level 16, which should prove to be a powerful option for players who want its utility at that level. And so that's exactly what they did. Also, All Shall Burn got a little bit of a stealth buff. The mana cost was reduced from 30 to 25 baseline. Trample went to 16, went to 20. As they mentioned, damage was increased by 14%, and the slow duration was increased by 1/4 of a second. And then Sin's Grasp is now at 16. And
nope, you got those reversed.
Oh, wait. Sorry, did I? Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad. So Trample's at 16, Sin's Grasp is at 20. Moved from 16.
So the main thing you'll notice here is that Azmodan might be slightly galloping away when you go to chase him when he's pushing on your keep come 16. This previously was the level with Sin's Grass, All Shall Burn slowing, and things of that nature. It's also the level where he got Total Annihilation, so that's the 4% damage bonus when he hit heroes with his globe. A pretty good competitor if you're going to be doing the big slams, big slams, as we did a year ago. But I think for the most part, Azmodans are really going to enjoy running away a little bit in the late game. And it does deal some damage, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. How often are you really going to take advantage of? I mean, I guess when people dive on you, right? It's an incidental thing that's going to happen as you try to disengage.
Right. There's an ETC kind of moment where maybe people go to body block you and you trample over top of them, causing them to take a 60% slow for 1 second. I would love, and I've been broadcasting for a long time, I'd love for Azmodans to get in the thick of it and be a little bruisery with their superior health. A trample to create a body block, go into a, All Shall Burn on a target that now has a 60% slow on it, who maybe is even guaranteed in that sort of situation to take the pop damage at the end. All Shall Burn Azmodan is such a cool idea in my head. They're still stacking Azmodan. He still wants to push things. The fantasy will continue to be Azmodan's playstyle, but Azmodan got a nice buff this week.
I'll be happy to set you up for your All Shall Burn Azmodan in exchange for you setting me up for my Orphea.
Not maybe the team comp we want, but it could work out.
I'm just saying, if you just want to go have some fun, Kyle, I'm here for you.
Sure.
All right, let's talk about Phoenix. They said that they found some room to improve some of his talents. Inhibiting energy in particular will now give him the ability to permanently slow enemy heroes, provided he can keep hitting them with Phase Bomb. And that's exactly what happened. They adjusted the functionality. Inhibiting energy slow can now spread from itself, and the slow duration was reduced from 3 to 2.5 seconds. We also got some adjustments to emergency protocol and rapid recharge.
So Phoenix is getting some talent incentivization on talents that are underpicked at the moment by pretty large amounts. If you were playing Phoenix, you're probably playing them the same as you were. But if you misclick or if you want to try other things, there are other options. Hooray for
What
Phoenix.
a way to sell it. If you misclick, maybe it's better.
There is a very dedicated way for Phoenix to be played. A lot of it has to do with not really going for those bombs style, more doing your tiny, what's a divert power? What's the basic attacks? Weapon mode, phase bomb, repeater cannon. Repeater cannon is the mode you'll be sitting in the majority of time while playing Phoenix if you are auto attacking and casting correctly. I think that, oh man, not Paradox said it great in that most Phoenixes either play a sort of mage style, really focusing on getting their plasma cutters out, or an auto attack style, really managing their phase cannon, their repeater cannon, and phase bomb. You have to do both to play Phoenix. So he's an extremely high skill floor hero, and that's why he doesn't see a lot of play.
Yep. But when he does end up in your game, they're usually really good and hard to deal with.
Yes, he is without a doubt the hero I hate to see drafted the most right now. Late pick, right? There's other things earlier like, oh man, like I don't want to fight that, but really, like, oh man, I am, my dreams have been haunted by, in particular, his level 16 talent, offensive cadence. Whoops, pardon me. That's the name of the talent. Every third basic attack against heroes while repeater cannon is active deals an additional 6% of the target's maximum health. That is not reducible by Leoric Spooky Ghosting or the old Drippies as we call them. And Phoenix just wrecks everything in the late game. Oh, I'm terrified. I get kited on him on my bruisers. And when I play him, he's just made of paper and he's just useless.
You and I have identical experiences with Phoenix.
I love him. Like I want to play Raynor's best friend, but
yeah, he worked for me really well when he first came out. But then very quickly I became aware of the massive chasm between me and good Phoenix players.
Yeah. There's a brief moment where no one could ever interrupt your warp, and everyone was invincible Phoenixes.
It was disgusting. It was gross. Let's move on to Gall, which pretty minor stuff here. They're adjusting Ogre Rampage to have a design that better matches how they want Cho'gall to manage his trade, which kind of ties into the Cho change. So the new functionality down to Ogre Rampage at level 7 is that it increases the bonus or the damage bonus of Ogre Rage by 5%. Each time Gall damages enemy heroes, this bonus increases by 1% for 4 seconds, up to an additional 10% bonus damage.
Previously increased the damage bonus by that same amount, and Gall's basic ability cooldown is faster for 5 seconds after activating Ogre Hide. So they're basically talking what they were talking about earlier, in that people were hanging out in Ogre Hide for too long. They tried to incentivize everyone to switch over to Ogre Rampage for the Ogre Rage. If you're not a Gall player, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Basically, you should be juggling when you should be juggling.
Yeah. Jaina. They're messing with Jaina. They want to get some Jaina build diversity. I was wondering when this was going to happen because we've been pretty locked in on Jaina for a while now. Ice Flows, they said in particular, is in a potentially powerful spot in the right situations, as when combined with Icy Veins and Northern Exposure or Numbing Blast, can do a lot of AoE damage to the enemy team in a short amount of time. And so what's happening here is Ice Lance, they're coming for you. Cooldown reduction reduced from 1.5 to 1.25 seconds. Again, seems small, but when we're dealing with figures that are that tiny, it's actually kind of a noticeable hit. And then Ice Flows got its cooldown reduction increased from 3 to 3.5 seconds per hero hit, and then all the way up at level 16, Snowstorm had the damage bonus increased by kind of a wacky amount. The second wave goes from 20 to 60% increased damage, and the third wave goes from 30 to 70% increased damage. That's a major, major buff to Snowstorm.
So if we're saying, did Jaina get buffed or nerfed? Traditionally, we would say Jaina's been nerfed.
Yes.
But if you were weird and you liked melee Jaina and you liked ice flows, or you really like something along the lines of Snowstorm at 16, for some reason you didn't like Northern Exposure, which gives the armor reduction, or Numbing Blast, which causes the root. Amazing also. Jaina's been buffed. Congratulations. So I'm tempted to say like bad Jaina's got better and good Jaina's got worse. Like it's balance. And traditionally, this is a hit to how Jaina's been played for a very long.
Yeah. Oh, did I get that? Was this third wave? Oh, sorry, I got that back. It was 20 to 30 and 60 to 70 on the bonus damage. It's extremely hard to read that. Doesn't matter, because if anyone's paying attention, you're not hitting with that third wave. This is a nerf as far as I'm concerned. Like, Ice Flows is the least attractive talent at 7, I think. Like, you could be reducing the cooldown of Blizzard with Ice Fury Wand. You could just be playing Jaina correctly with Ice Lance.
Right. I mean, the problem really shines when we talk about Jaina taking a camp or dealing with a Battlefield of Eternity sort of situation. That's where Ice Lance really shows its value outside of being really sweet aiming in any team fight ever. That's why we're talking about this in sort of light we are. But hey, if you've never ever played Ice Flow style Jaina, it is a blast. It's a kind of cold. Ice blast. No, it doesn't really work. But it's fun. And if you're doing ring, maybe you were doing snowstorm. So that got sheared up. But you know,
I don't want to play with that Jaina.
Yeah,
the Jaina you just described. I don't want to play with that Jaina. I don't want that Jaina on my team.
In a sense, that is what we're saying.
Oh God, yeah. No, this is just a minor nerf, is the way I read this. I am not interested in Ice Flows. I am still not interested in Snowstorm. In most games, the value of that third wave of Blizzard is zone control and not damage. So you can increase that damage by whatever insane amount you want, and I don't think it really matters in most games, except for siege damage, because that's guaranteed. That's going to land. But yeah, this is whatever. My Jaina just got slightly worse. That's what happened here. Let's move on to Raynor. They said similar to Orphea last patch, they're removing a use case where it often felt like a requirement to take two talents together for their full effect. As it applies to Raynor here, we're talking about Ace in a Hole, because now Ace in the Hole is going to give Raynor the slow, in their words, that he desperately wants for its proc, and to make sure that his other level 1 talents are competitive, they're giving them a boost as well. So Veteran Marksman is having the bonus damage increased from 0.75% to a full 1%, which is noticeable when we're dealing with numbers that small. Ace in a Hole, they've adjusted its functionality. Enemies hit by Give 'em some pepper are slowed by 10% for 2.5 seconds. And then Exterminator, the damage bonus was increased from 50 to 75%, and from 100% to 125% while Inspire is active.
Wow. Like, let's take a hot moment and just say, Jimmy boy. Oh my goodness, Jimmy.
I'm into this. I'm very into this. All of my complete who gives a crap to Jaina, I give many craps about Raynor here. I like this quite a bit.
And you should. Like, Raynor stock is rising dramatically this week. Exterminator in particular was already really good on Battlefield of Eternity, and he wasn't weak like Vala in terms of drafting. He looked really good in the 4-man lane anyway, can cover the solo lane like Raynor. Oh my goodness, get rid of your gray mains. Get rid of whatever else you thought was decent on Battlefield Eternity, which is probably still pretty decent. But hey, Raynor. I love this. And Ace in the Hole providing its own slow means he's no longer draft dependent for probably his best talent at level 1 in the majority of maps. Holy moly. Also, level 7, since it's now free, they gave it some additional functionality, which means it grants Raynor mana and reduces the cooldown of Penetrating Round and Inspire by 1 second. So it's still really, really good with things like a full Exterminator build where you'll be wanting an Inspire build for Battlefield of Eternity. That also works on things like infernal shrines. Maybe you might want to even like solo a sky temple business. Like, holy moly, Raynor, I love you. And I'm happy to see you just get a really handsome, no matter which way you go at one, buff.
Yeah, super into this. In terms of heroes that you and I are probably not the most interested in, we're also on to Sergeant Hammer. Barricade has new functionality, reduces the mana cost, or additional functionality, it reduces the mana cost of Concussive Blast from 80 to 40. So get your Barricade on, Sergeant Hammer players.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like much compared to that Raynor, which is
no.
both super stoked about.
Just the balance should have said, Sergeant Hammer, we're moving her alphabetically above Raynor just so you're not disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. So to end here, Kyle.
But we're not done.
We're damn near done.
But
Let's talk about Yrel.
There's a bug fix that should have been a balance note.
That's what I was going into, dude.
Okay.
It's Yrel. We need to talk about Yrel because this didn't go the way I was kind of hoping it would go. According to them, they have fixed an issue where Holy Avenger could grant the damage bonus to non-hero targets on Yrel. And I was hoping they were going to go the white main way, right? What happened with white main a couple patches ago, they were like, oh, this is not working as intended, but it's kind of working out, so we're just going to make this an intended way to work.
So this is a difficult situation for old Yrel. I've been talking about her a bit on the show recently. She has amazing lane clear come 7 because of a bug that allowed what would be bonus damaged enemy heroes at full charge. Also meant all targets, so lane clear for her jumping on top of lanes. If there happens to be a Leoric or Thrall standing in that lane, she could get resets and clear that lane darn fast, and she could do a double rotate and keep up with the best of them. Now Leoric has better double rotate than Yrel, perhaps. And Yrel now might just have access to things like Divine Steed, which is a blasty good fun, mounting instantly and riding around at increased speed. She might be taking Righteous Momentum, which you don't really need if you're doing Hand of Freedom, but, there's different play styles. Yrel is such an odd hero because she's invincible. And as long as your solo lane double rotate was invincible, you had a really good chance to win in Grandmaster Masters. That leaves a lot to the team fight, though. Like, Thrall shows up late game. He's not just, invincible. He brings big slows, big damage, big poke, and better heroes were suited for a solo queue environment. This leaves Yrel in a really odd spot. So I'm curious to see how they're going to balance her, give her the Maiev treatment maybe to make her easier to play. She doesn't need those things because she's invincible. But now she won't see play as often. So I'm not sad. I'm just remarking.
You sound a little disappointed, Kyle. I know you didn't want to complete that phrase, but you do sound a little disappointed.
I did put a lot of work into her, and a lot of that was in a double soak kind of capacity. So changing my Yrel brain around will be difficult, and I don't think she'll bring home solo queue bacon anymore. So a moment of silence for Yrel.
Yeah. It's a little rough. We don't have HGC. Let's just let the wave clear flow, Kyle. Let it flow.
It was too much. It had to... There had to be competition. Maybe Hand of Freedom versus Holy Avenger lane clear. That would be pretty handsome. How do you balance an invincible hero? You make him deal no damage. Well, that's no fun. You give him no lane clear. Well, now we're really not sure where to apply Yrel. Well, and we still got Dauntless that gets juggled, so Yrel basically has 50 physical armor. So buildings, camps, what have you, not heroic armor at all times. So she is truly an invincible force.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss, Kyle.
Thank you. I'm more sad for my practice, man. There's a lot of work put into Yrel recently.
Yeah. Well, you get to spread your wings again, as we talked about at the top of the show.
Yrel spread her wings though before she jumped.
Well, they just unintentionally reminded you of your dead pat. I'm so sorry. I saw a kitten. It made me think of my cat. Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up. Let's put a bow on this, Kyle.
All right. Big fluffy bow.
Yeah. So in the buffs from this patch, we have Muradin, Stitches, Tyrael, Zarya. Tyrael and Zarya like barely, I think, coming in with a buff, but it's a buff nonetheless.
It's buff.
Malfurion, Azmodan, Phoenix, Raynor, and Sergeant Hammer. You probably put Sergeant Hammer right there as Zarya and Tyrael as like kind of buffed.
She's buffed technically. Like there.
Yeah. Who would you say like the big winners are here? Because I think it's Raynor. I think Raynor is just standing at the top of this mountain of this patch, going, "Yeah, buddy."
Yeah, everyone in that buffs list is like, well, that's nice. But Raynor is literally buffed. Literally everything you want right now. Get your Raynor on, man. Like, oh, I'm so excited for everyone out there because they should be drafting Raynor. He is amazing.
Yep. Cho probably in the nerf pile.
There's some technicalities with Cho'gall now that make him a little weaker.
Yeah. Mal'Ganis, Deathwing, obviously here. Abathur, very clearly going in the nerf pile. Aureil, once again, going in the nerf pile. And Uther. All of this, not a big surprise, but again, all of this pretty incremental, with the exception of maybe Uther. And I really think they only overextended in the with his hammer there. Everything else on him felt like, yeah, sure, okay, he was probably a little too survivable. I understand taking down his health, so on and so forth.
If we're talking big loser of the patch, I think Aureil, Uther are definitely the ones kind of sitting on top there. Aureil's perspective won't change though. Uther's will.
I'm a little worried about Mal'Ganis. I feel like he's easy to kill, and he lost health.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we'll see his win rate go down, particularly while people were already being advertised to play him a bunch. Same with Yrel, right? Like,
yeah,
we can't discount that his stock was very high, and this message will not spread. Uther's message will spread. Cooldown to his main stun, health decrease. Aureil's message won't spread because it's kind of confusing and like her damage, but resurrect is okay. So I would put Uther at the big loser here, just in terms of perspective.
Fair. And then retooling is Malthael, Medivh, Gall, and Jaina. I think I would fight for Malthael as a buff. It's just for a meta we're not currently in.
Right. I mean, 5 seconds. It's not a nerf. That's why we're in retool here, because there are other options for Malthael now. I'm excited to see them come to light. Same with Jaina, but we're battling tradition there. You know, your grandparents cast Ice Lance uphill both ways, and well, it's a different now. Yep.
So there you have it. We made it through the patch, Kyle, and with that, another episode of Into the Nexus is in the bag. We knew this was going to be a long one, so we're storing your questions, your emails, your patron chats for future episodes. Keep them coming though. itncast@gmail.com is where you can send an email if you're a patron. Drop us a question right there in the Discord. Speaking of our patrons, we want to thank you again for supporting us. If you like this podcast, if you want to support us, the best way to do so is heading on over to patreon.com/ITN. And whether it's $1, $5, or more, it all adds up, and it really, really does help. So thank you so much for the support, everybody. Huge thanks, by the way, to our producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, Robert M, and Mike C. Thank you for supporting us. You can typically catch us live Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That wasn't the case this week, but we should be back to that in the coming week. We'll let you know on our Twitter account, ITNcast, if there's any changes to our schedule. So go check that out. But you can usually come join us live 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursdays at twitch.tv/amovetv. Kyle, before we go, you do all sorts of other awesome content around the web, and you have a great stream. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, playing Heroes of the Storm Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And you can find all those matches over at youtube.com/Kyle Fergusson. Join the project as we get ready for the next season, figure out where we're going to settle. I'm excited to be trying out some new things. Join up for the group games over there. Play some unranked with me as we explore the Nexus for season 2.
Awesome. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. This podcast and others like it are over at amove.tv. Go check out my new WoW show. It's called WoW Killer. I'm doing it with Taliesin. We cover a single topic within World of Warcraft each week, And the Angry Chicken still going strong. So check that out as well. Brand new episode talking about the nerf to demons in Battlegrounds this past week. Go check that out. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. Until next time, good luck and have fun, everyone.
Take care. Draft Raynor.
Damn right.